Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another HFY narration. Today, we will be reading Music Made After Gunfire, made by you/Tashdacat. Many thanks for the writer's permission. Hope you'll enjoy. Let's begin. My grandfather was on Talern Station during the final days of the Crusader of Peace's mad galaxy-spanning war against conflict. He was a war correspondent, and one of the many watching from orbit as the mountain dingoes took Talern's capital. It is said you could feel when the palace fell, because the mood shifted almost instantly. He described it thusly. It's one of those moments where you know, this is great, this is why we fought. But that, when looking back on it decades later, you realize just how blessed you were to witness that moment. That so many things could have changed the course of history, or just the course of your life, and you would never have been there to witness such a spectacle. I would like to relate to you today, with such an event of my own. On Talern Station now, deep within its bowels lies a small establishment. It's closed during the day, but when the station lights dim, the place becomes alive with a quiet but resonant energy. Run by a Trelaxi couple, it serves excellent food, lovely wine, and stellar cocktails. But these things are not why so many from all walks of life flock to it. Indeed, the reason so many adore it, and why music journalists like myself will travel there, is the live music that plays each and every evening. One set, 4 hours, and always of excellent quality. No heavy bands and thumping bass lines will be found there though. Instead, simple melodies of purest song float through the incense-laden main room, where the only conversations you will hear are hushed whispers of admiration for whichever musician you are witnessing. I went there tonight. It was just a perfect location as I thought it would be. Beautiful dark wooden furniture, incredible scent of incense, perfectly cooked ikori meat, lovely spirits, but it was the musician who captured my attention the most. She came out on stage, an adult, rather than a young adult, I thought. A human, with platinum blonde hair cascading down her shoulders to cover the upper parts of the floor-length, backless silver dress she wore. She carried with her a device that seemed similar to a guitar, but I hadn't seen this type before. However, I quickly stopped trying to work out what it was as she sat and let her fingers glide over the instrument. The crystal clear song that came from her incredibly clear playing was melodic and beautiful. It stunned the room into silence as we all watched and stared. But what came next shocked me to my core. During the climax of the song, two hands unfolded from her back so she could play a solo duet. The song became infinitely complex as you heard two different melodies harmonize perfectly as the song came to a conclusion. The song that began after kept this style going, as the song twirled and danced around each other, harmonizing and breaking away and harmonizing again, as if a pair of ballroom dancers twirling around as others watched in stunned admiration. It was when I finally recognized the woman. Having seen many images of her from my grandfather, Valentine Triskelion, the Crusader of Peace herself. An artificial body made for combat housed a biotransferred mind that broke its restrictive conditioning, allowing her to wage a galaxy-wide war for peace. For 200 years, she and her mercenary company rampaged through the galaxy, originally just the bane of pirates and raiders. Her company eventually grew to such a size and skill that national armies fell before her. Slaving guilds, oppressive tyrants, nothing stood before her, as she and her army attempted to end conflicts that had been raging since before humans had written history. But she had done it. 2 centuries of constant war, the galaxy partially broken but alive, and she had done it. I remember watching a historical vidcast of the final battle on Talarn, as she cut her way through half the army on her own while their lasers and slug throwers didn't even dent her reinforced chassis. The decades since had seen leaders throughout the stars keep that peace lest the great titan be roused again. I tore my eyes away from the woman who had captivated my grandfather for decades of his life. If this was indeed her, there would be another woman here. I scanned the crowd and found her quickly. Hitomi Hida, the Crusader's beloved. The elderly woman sat nearby, gazing up at her wife of decades with an adoration in her eyes that I guarantee you has never left them. It was said that Valentine embraced an artificial body after her biological one was almost lost to cancer, but her wife had never suffered, and as such had no need for a prosthetic body. Her milky white eyes gazed up at her wife as she sat playing. her own eyes gently closed, lest she return the gaze and all music be played as if it was only for their ears alone. It was her, a woman who had slain so many, their blood would overflow the station itself, who forged peace from conflict and ended multiple millennia-long wars. She had accumulated titles like collectibles. Savior of Estevia, conqueror of the Lori tribes, despised of Germilix, on and on and on. The first and finest artificial warrior that had ever existed, and yet here she was, playing a tune beautiful enough to make you weep with hands practically stained red with the blood of uncountable enemies. A snap of her fingers could raise an army or cause one to rebel against their masters, and she had ceased thinking of all that to play music here in this little establishment, gazed upon by her adoring wife, enjoying the peace she had created all those decades ago, playing a song to a crowd of maybe 20 people. A body, quite literally made for war, turned to the arch so her blind wife could fill her mind with song during the twilight years of her life. She said nothing to anyone that I saw, merely sat and played her set, before leaving quietly with her wife, as the rest of us sat awestruck by the song we had heard. A waitress said she will be playing again tomorrow. I think I will be there, and hopefully my grandfather's spirit will sit with me and listen as well to the music made after Gunfire. Thank you for listening. I'm glad to still have you here. This one was interesting. The only thing I would suggest for the writer is to maybe add more commas next time. If you have stuck around, go and show your appreciation to the writer on HFY. I hope you're having a good day, and I'll see you in the next one.